Greetings. This is Arvette McLean of Speak, the Universe Listens.
We cherish that. We love that particular piece of it because it
teach people like, hey, it's okay, change.
New ways to view age-old challenges. Change your thoughts, change your life. Step into the bigness of you.
Greetings and welcome to Speak, the Universe Listens. Today's topic is you can create the relationship you want. And I have Stephen joining me. How are you, Stephen?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm terrific. And I also have a special guest. I have Justin Johnson joining us. How are you, Justin?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great as well.
That's good.
And Justin is actually an entrepreneur who lives in Savannah, Georgia. And like so many of us, at one point in his life, he had like a little rough patch. And like what we tend to do is when we have these rough patches, we kind of push through, force it, and just try to make it to the other side. But one of the things that Justin did was he decided to go within. And when he started searching within for his personal truths, he actually learned how to tap into his higher power. And with tapping into his higher power, his life began to blossom and unfold in ways unexpected. And now one of his greatest passions and loves is to share with others of us as he's learning how to stay aligned with his higher spirit. He's also sharing that with us, and so that we can learn how to do the same. So welcome, Justin.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're so welcome. Thank you for coming. Now, last week, we started talking about the whole concept of transcending your current reality. So today, we want to talk about how to transcend your current reality, but specifically as it relates to relationships. And so as far as transcending your current reality, we all know that the first thing we want to do is just to recognize that we are connected to the source of all that exists. And that connection allows us access. It allows us to be deliberate creators. And so we're really good about facing reality, but we forget that we create reality and that we want to start deliberately creating our reality. And so with this topic of relationships and creating the relationships that we want, Justin, if someone were to come to you and tell you how their relationship has just gone awry, what kind of guidance or what would you have to say to them?
I would kind of refer them to, my story because, I've been in a relationship. I'm engaged actually now to the love of my life. And I would kind of refer them to my story in the sense that at one point I felt as if I was really pushing in my relationship, meaning that I was putting attention to something that I did not enjoy about my relationship. I was putting attention to it. And how the universe works is when you consistently put attention to something, it manifests more and more and more into your life because you get the energy you put out is energy you get back. That's just how the universe works. So at the beginning of my relationship, it was perfect. We went through the honeymoon phases. We was all lovey-dovey, and it was just a beautiful thing. And then it's like, as the relationship went on, as we kind of grew and we got used to each other, I started to notice things that I particularly did not like. And the crazy thing about it is when I was noticing those things, I didn't realize at the time that I was just noticing aspects of myself that I did not like.
Mm.
So I started to drill in, about petty things all the time. Like, oh, why am I not getting the affection that I want? Or why are you not doing this? Or why are you not doing that? And I kept, perpetuating that energy. And I kept pointing out and putting attention towards that energy. And what happened is it started to show up in my relationship even more, even in situations where I didn't think it would show up. The things that I did not like, they kept showing up more and more over and over again. And I kept finding it easier for myself to be able to point them out, and it just made my relationship worse. It made my relationship feel heavy, and it made my relationship have an added negative energy that it didn't need. And I honestly felt as if we were going down the wrong path. And I was in the middle of my spiritual awakening at the time. And I was like, what do I have to do to fix how I feel about, this situation in my relationship? For example, like at one point I thought my fiance wasn't as affectionate as I needed her to be because, and when you go through things in life, you start to bridge together certain situations from your past, and you start to apply them to what's going on right now currently. And I started to try to ask myself, where am I going wrong with this? Why do I constantly feel this way? She does these great things for me in other aspects, but it's just this one area I keep drilling in on. And I came to the conclusion that in my past, I never got the love that I needed from my family. I never got the love that I needed from people that were always close to me. And that shadow that was kind of over me, I was bringing it to my current relationship. So I started to kind of do some study and do some inner work. And then I realized that I had to fix myself. I had to go within and fix me. And I started to meditate more consistent. I started to meditate, and I started to put attention towards the good things that my fiance was doing, the great aspects about her that I was failing to pay attention to. See, when you want to transcend your current reality and you want to manifest something in your life, you have to take attention away from the negative thing or the lack of that particular thing and put your attention on something that's positive. So when I started doing that, our relationship started to rebound. Our relationship started to blossom because I was paying attention to the great things. And what people don't understand, they think just because you stop giving attention to something, that means you don't care about that thing no more. Once you put your attention on something else, the thing that you want is going to come, because usually that thing is something that feels good to you. So when you put your attention on something positive, the good things are going to start flooding through. So that's what I would just tell somebody. I would tell them to stop focusing on the rocky things about your relationship if you really want to be with this person. Now, if you don't want to be with them, that's fine. But if you want to be with this person, stop focusing on the rocky aspects of the relationship. If you really want to manifest that beautiful relationship, stop focusing on the rocky aspects and just focus on the positive things that person is doing, or focus on your own happiness and raising your own vibration. And then the things that you want out of that person will just magically start to happen. I mean, now, we're it's like every day we just all over each other. I can't get out I can't get off me, but yeah, I had to go through that phase within myself. And now, we're in a beautiful place. So that's what I would tell them. Just put your attention towards something that makes you feel good, that isn't that negative thing that is, that you were previously focused on.
Awesome.
I like that.
Yeah, so some of the points that you say, one was that you were noticing that what you were focusing on was really aspects of your own self. And that's something that's so hard for us to see, is that when we look out into the world, we're actually looking at a mirror. We're reflecting back on ourselves. So whatever we're looking at and saying that's bad, that's wrong, that's bad, there's something in that is actually reflecting back to ourselves. And so we do want to stop focusing on everything that's wrong out in the world and in the other person, and really start focusing on what's good, what it is that you want. Take your attention off what you don't want and put it exactly on where you want it.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's very easy to sit back and, you take on the narrative of your past, right? So it's like, how you used to be in relationships, the pain that you went through, If something didn't go right, it's so easy to take that into your new relationships, whether it be, your partner or a friendship, and you hold on to it like it's your story. But I think a lot of individuals fail to realize it doesn't have to be your story. You can leave that past in the past, and you can rewrite your story, and don't really live your life based off of your past experiences. Because I could say for myself, that was something I had to really work on for me. When I started doing my inner work for myself, and just for better relationships in my life with friends, partners, and it was something that I really noticed. I was like, wow, I'm taking on all my past hurt and pain into these new relationships, and I keep getting the same results because my mind was so focused on what I didn't want to happen, and then I'm taking it into the present. So I'm like, okay, so now I got to rewrite my story and change the way that I think. What is it that I want? Focus more on what it is that I want, and everything just started to manifest. So everything you were saying, man, it's pretty right. But I got a question for you though. So when did you come to the point, just like in your spiritual journey, what happened as to where you decided to be like, you know what, I need to do some work on myself?
It's almost like you try to be a certain person, or you try to be a certain way, and then you get to a point where you constantly just hit a brick wall. So me, I was carrying on as a particular type of person, or carrying on with this particular attitude, and then I just kept hitting the brick wall, and I was like, something isn't right. Why is it this way? Why can't I do what other people can do, or why can't I do, have the success that I see other people have? What is it about me? And then I said, okay, let me stop looking at everything that's external, that's a problem, and let me look at me. But then I'm also somebody that is very curious. I'm a very curious person. So when I start asking the question why, I go and start to look it up. I go, this is a digital age, so everything is on the internet. So, I go and start to look up what's the meaning of this and what's the meaning of that. And that kind of took me down that rabbit hole of information about law of attraction and manifesting and, higher consciousness and vibration and source and everything else that's out there. And I just kind of made my own conclusions and took what resonated with me. And that's pretty much how it happened.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I asked you that question because I think a lot of people, when it comes to just sort of like just waking up, sort of getting enlightened a little bit, it hits everybody a little different. It's not like sometimes some people go through hardships in life, either somebody passed away or, it was a huge breakup that they went through. And so it's always painful things that make people sort of, wake up. And I just want people to see, like, you don't really have to go through pain in order to change your life. You can just sit back and the light bulb can just go off and just be like, you know what? Like you said, I need to ask some questions, something is not resonating with me. So I like that, man. I appreciate that, man.
I wanted to I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, Stephen, you said that people kind of, attach to their story. Like, why do you think that people do that?
Why? Well, the attachment, man, is something that is easy for people to be attached to, the pain of whatever their story is. I could say for myself, right? When my brother passed away, right? That was my point in my life as to where I sit back and I started, waking up a little bit. I started doing a little bit of research. I started changing my life. And I noticed that afterwards, years later, I'm like, okay, I noticed how some people attach to painful situations And it's like something has to happen in their life in order for them to make that change that is needed for them. But then again, sometimes they don't have, it's like you don't have to wait till the last minute, in order for you to change. You can change at any time that you want to. So I can say, man, for me, honestly, it was just being more attached to my past, and that hurt, man. It was easy to say, this is my story. This is where I came from, for me anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with that. We do get attached to our stories, and it's something I think both of you all use the word fix myself. Um, and that's like one of those kind of like red flags for me, like, oh no, we don't have to fix ourselves. We're not broken. And so a lot of times we feel like we're broken. We feel like something's wrong. We have to fix ourselves. And we're actually never separated from source. We're never separated from our higher selves. We just forget that we are. And so a lot of times we think we have to go in and, like you say, go in and do stuff to fix ourselves, but really it's coming into alignment with who you are. And the easy way to do that really is just exactly what we're saying about relationships with another. It's the same thing that you do with a relationship with yourself. You start focusing on all the things that you love about yourself. You start raising your vibration. You start feeling good. You start changing your frequency, the frequency that you're radiating on. And you just start practicing that new vibration. And everything that you want is already here for you. It's already lined up, waiting for you to tap into that same frequency. And so it's really not about, I would say, like a lot of times we do think we got to go in and dig and fix ourselves and change who we are. Well, really, we already are it. We're it right now. And it's just the remembering of that and practicing who we really are.
I think it's funny that when we start to kind of fixate on a problem or fixate on something that we need to fix within our relationships with people or just, with anything, I think people don't know that there's two sides to every coin. There's a positive and a negative. So it's like when you are focusing on a negative aspect, whether you know it or not, you're building up a positive side to that scenario. You just don't know it because it's not in front of you. It's not in your face right now. Just like you just said, you have to tune to that frequency to get to that positive side. And I think people don't realize that. They just kind of take everything at face value of what's in front of them right now. And a lot of times that what's in front of them is not really what's actually in front of them, is what is in their head. And they're making up that story. They're making up that scenario that's in front of them. And it's just crazy to think about. All you have to do is tune into a certain frequency, and you will start to tap into the positive things that can be manifested in your life. And it can come in like volumes. It can come in like, great waves. And that's why I particularly want to, teach people, this information.
That's awesome. I love it, man.
And like with the topic being transcending your current reality, like I said, we do tend to look out at what is, and we think what we see with our eyes, what we can hear, what we can taste, what we can touch, we think that's what is, and that's some type of hurdle that we have to overcome. And it is what is, but at the same time, it's how you've been vibrating for the past however many years that has created this current situation.
Yeah.
And so, but the only thing you have to do is just vibrate differently, and you can change what is almost in an instant. Or you are changing what is. As soon as you change your mind, you've already changed what is. And then it's just a matter of releasing the resistance or the I'll just leave it at that, releasing the resistance to it, and then allowing what is to show up in this physical form.
Yeah, I would say, if anything too, when it comes to just changing and leaving the past and trying to get to your higher self, also surround yourself, with those things that you want. Me and you, we talk about that all the time, just making sure that you surround yourself with the individuals that think like you, or, do something. Lamar, Justin, you talked about it too on your page. I seen pretty much do something that you love to do, find that feeling that makes you feel good. And the more that you do that, then eventually over time, that's a way to practice how to sort of get into that shift of
Yeah.
change that you need.
Yeah. It's like once you have, because what Everett said is that you forget who you are and you forget what you're capable of. Like she said, you don't have to fix anything about yourself. You just got to remember what you're capable of. And it's like once you get to that point of remembrance, relationships that you have with just about anybody can go smooth because you know that you're the one that creates your external reality. So somebody from the outside or something external shouldn't be able to completely shatter that. So one of the things that I went through recently was actually kind of trying to transition through dealing with my family, because my family, they're not exactly, as tapped in, and there's nothing wrong with that. People got to go through their own journey. And it's like I would be with my family and I would feel like a negative energy, and I would feel like, judgment about different situations, and I would feel just different things when I'm around my family. And it's like I would leave that environment, kind of, feeling yucky, come like, dang, like they don't get it, and I would just feel yucky. And it's like I had to realize that I can't let what their energy is on mess up my energy. And that's even in, intimate relationships. What someone is going through, that's them. You can't take on what they got going on. That's them. Whatever their journey is to their bliss is the journey to their bliss. You can't take that on. You can't let that shatter your world. So I had to. I'm still, learning that as when it pertains to my family. But I think that's something that people should focus on.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you said that, man, because I was just getting ready to ask you how can you deal with somebody that is not, conscious as yourself. How can you deal with those individuals? But when you
It's
talk
hard
about,
because you care about your family. You care about them. You love them. You love people that are close to you. So it's hard when you're seeing them, kind of be, still have that cloak over their eyes. But like I said, you can't let that affect you.
man, I know, trust me. My family is, I've been through that stage, somewhat still going through it, but for the most part, I noticed that long as I stand in my truth and what I feel is right for me, I can't go wrong, And at one point, it was very hard to sit back and stand in my truth because, especially with family wise, because like you said, you love them so much, and you want to make your family happy, because they're dear
Right.
to you. But at the end of the day, you really have to sit back, and especially when you're trying to change yourself and you want to elevate yourself to a higher you, um, you'll start to really let that go, like trying to get validation from your family. You know what I'm saying? You'll stop caring about what they think, and eventually over time, before you know it, they start asking you questions. you know, it,
And that's literally what's going on with me right now. That's literally what is going on because I literally took what the lessons that I learned from my fiance and this relationship that I'm in right now. I took it and I just applied it with my family. I was like, let me start focusing on the fact that they're never going to understand why I do what I do, or never. Let me start focusing on that and just focus on that. I do have a loving mother and a loving father that care about me, and just focusing on the good aspects of them. And it's like now everything is just, everything is gravy. Like we're best friends and everything's looking good. It's like it's crazy how stuff can just shift when you shift.
it's amazing, man. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And I do want to add to that is a lot of times we're looking out at people and we're in judgment. So even though we think we're thinking good things, we're literally in judgment. And so when we're looking out at our families and at our friends and we're like, they're not where you know, they should be or whatever. It's not for us to say, you know, where they should be. It's like Justin just say, like everybody's walking their own path and in their own time. And our job really is to look at them as perfect as they are, understand that they are connected to the source of all things. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. There's nothing that we need to do to fix them. The only thing we need to do is stand in our truth, as you say, Stephen. You just shine. You shine as bright as you can. And when you shine, people are going to say, "Oh, what's that light?"
Ooh.
Asking you,
Right.
like, yeah, I want to shine like you. So, yeah, I enjoyed this conversation. We really, I think when I was conceiving of the topic, I was kind of thinking
Mhm.
like romantic relationships, but it goes across the board. Like we can talk about this with relationships of all types, with yourself, with your friends, with your family, with your loved
Mhm.
one. And it works for everything. Like this same ideal concept works no matter where you put it. If we talk about money, we can talk about jobs, we can talk about
Yes.
health, you know, all of the above. But the bottom line is we have to start liking whatever it is we're looking at. So if we are putting out the negative energy, I don't really believe in positive and negative, but if we're putting out an energy that is displeasing to us about something, we're going to get more of that. And so we want to start looking out into the world with loving eyes. Whatever we're looking at it with loving eyes, looking at our relationships, looking at that person who's the closest person to you, and how so often that person that's the closest person to us, we're going to pick them apart and look for everything that's wrong with them. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But instead, if we make that shift and start looking at them with loving eyes and start looking at all the things that's just already perfect about them, it's just it's going to be more and more and more pouring your way. But I really appreciate you joining us today, Justin.
I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, man. It was
Yeah,
good. It was a good conversation. I like.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this for real.
yeah. So we would love to have you come back again someday very, very soon.
I would love to come back. I would love to come back.
Awesome. All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation and that you picked up something interesting from this conversation. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. Until then, this is Arvette
This is Steven.
and I guess Justin.
See y'all.